Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining this session. Well, I'm delighted to welcome Janice Weber, accounting faculty, University of Louisiana at Monroe, who's going to be talking about seeking synergy in the virtual classroom, engagement, and integrity. Welcome, Janice.
Thank you. As you said, my name is Janice Weber, and I teach accounting at University of Louisiana in Monroe in the U.S. and in Louisiana, and I love what I do. And so I have started my career many years ago that we won't really discuss or calculate in the public practice of accounting, and then I've switched over to academia in 2007. So since 2007, I've been working with online and classroom teaching of accounting, and I love what I do because I can help students survive something that they think they can't otherwise. So my purpose here today is to talk to you about some issues that we face as online educators that is magnified somehow by the online environment. Not somehow, it's really not a mystery in a lot of ways. So I'm going to be talking about 2 points that we talk about a lot in online and the struggles we have, and that is student engagement, because sometimes trouble, and academic integrity, which sometimes trouble. So I feel like most of us have dealt with this problem a good bit because it's just integral to the process. But what is really surprising after analyzing it for a while and trying these new techniques that I've been doing for the last, say, 8 to 10 years, I realized something very interesting, and that is that those two concepts, student engagement and academic integrity, were like totally related to one another. And so I called it profoundly intertwined because these two cannot be separated now that after I've mixed them together, I can't get them back apart. And so I would like to present some concepts of ways we can engage better and accomplish academic integrity with the same fail swoop. And so this really is exciting to me. And so I could talk about it for weeks, and hopefully I'll be able to get enough across to you during this time to whet your appetite to where you want to talk about it too. Because one of my objectives of today is to try to give you this insight, yes, that these two things are interrelated and can be solved with the same type of solution. But also, I'm trying to spur you guys to come on board with me and do some traditional research processes, because this thing I do, where I have done, is not that I won't do some traditional also, but these things that I have been doing are in the field are experiential, meaning I'm applying some possibilities of ways to overcome these challenges. But what I would like to see is for some other people to take it the next step so that this can be proclaimed to other academics through research on traditional methods. And so this is really what's exciting to me, is that I can share these concepts and hope to spark some interest for you guys to see how they're intertwined and what that means, that how it could improve online education. Okay, so here's what we got. Here's these two challenges. The student engagement in the online environment. What happens is sometimes the students feel disconnected. They don't feel like they're really with you like they would if they were in class. And then sometimes they feel unsupported, not sure what to do because they can't feel us. They can't, well, not always, but because I know some of us are good at touching the students even in online, but a lot of times they cannot feel us. And so they just kind of freeze up and just don't engage because they don't know exactly what to do, and they don't even know if you care or are there. And so that's the big problem with engagement, and that's pretty universal. It's tough to get that engagement when it's online. Okay, so that's one. We know that. Here's the second thing we already know. Academic integrity is a challenge. Even in the classroom it is too, of course, because I teach in class too. But online, it's a big challenge because there's so much information out there. So the students, because well, maybe I won't go into that part yet. Maybe not, it's just because they're disconnected. But students in general search for a way to get an easy fix because they want to make this work. They want to make it work. They want to get a good grade. They want to check the box at the very least that they conquered the course. And so they search for a solution, and guess what? It is there. There is a solution to many of the things we propose to our students right there at their fingertips online. And so there's publisher assessments many times are right there online also. That causes trouble, because if they have the solution, why would they work for it? And so second thing, the classmates share. Somebody finds solutions and shares with other classmates. So this collusion is everywhere between the students. So they don't even have to understand the material. If they can find your answer keys, or they can find some kind of someone else who's posted it, a solution or an example essay, then they got what they need. So here we go. We got these two problems. We already all know about those two. But the problem is when you get that student engagement challenge and you get that academic integrity challenge, that means now we have student engagement magnified, the problem of student engagement magnified, because students now have no reason to engage because they have the solutions. So they spend their entire time trying to find the solutions and sharing them with others. So no learning whatsoever. And it's just a vicious cycle that goes and goes and goes. And so this really, what I'm going to do today is present some options of things that I think can solve these two problems. I have a whole lot more options here than I have time. And so this is going to be where I share some of this information that I know about this just from experience, not like I'm so brilliant, just that I will say I was brave. I was brave enough to try something new. And so that's what I did, and I found some solutions. And so, well, that worked for me, not necessarily for everyone. But in any case, I'm giving you what I've got, and I hope you can take something from it. So I just do making the caveat now that I'm going to present some examples, and I won't be able to cover everything in my slides, but I do have the slides available. If you want to email me, we'll have the email available at the end. And also, I think the chat's going to have the slides possibly. We're trying to get the slides in the chat. And so if I don't go through them all, you'll have them if you want them by email me or by finding them in the slides and downloading. Okay, so here's the solution. We've got student engagement and academic integrity challenges. So what we're going to do is we've got to find a way to fix them both. So I have tried these things that I call all kinds of different names: individualized, customized, personalized, but basically, I need something different for every student to do in order to ensure that they are going to engage, because they can't do it any other way. And what that means is it's going to minimize the cheating, and it's going to increase engagement automatically because you can't find the answer online, and because it makes them look at my material. So here's this novel idea. What if our material is not actually that difficult? Or it's not even as boring as they say it is. It's not that that's what the problem is, but it's just that our material requires them to put some effort and investment into the class. And so when they do put the effort, all of a sudden our stuff becomes more interesting. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, I didn't understand that. That's cool. Rather than, I just think this stuff is ridiculously stupid. And so I'm sorry, I'm just on the casual. Sorry about that. But anyway, this is really cool to me that it turns out that they can actually be interested in the material we're teaching. So it turns out that the result in the end is the personal involvement actually sparks their interest in our material, which makes me so happy. Okay, so here's some examples. We're starting with one. This one works in every kind of coursework. So the problem is that I believe these kind of concepts work in all subject matters, but I do have to admit it works better. Most of the ones that I found that helped me the most do work better in an analytical class because I can use numbers to give them their customization. But even without numbers, this custom assignment, individualized assignment, means you can give them things that they do a part of something, or they answer a piece of the questions, and that gives them their forced participation. So I'm going to wade through these, just considering that even if you're not in an analytical class, like the maths or the business classes, or even sciences. A lot of those have numbers or some kind of formula-based things. And so those are all prime for doing some of these customizations that I do. But also some of the customizations I do are just related to people working together to do one piece of a problem together. So that's where I use collaborative forums. So these collaborative forums that I'm talking about are it could be any subject matter. But for me, since I'm accounting, I take this huge problem, and this is just one example. I have a lot of different collaborative forums, but I'll take this huge problem that's difficult. It does kind of financial analysis on a big company, and so I'll just say, okay, in this forum, we're going to do all these ratios. We're going to see how the company's doing in regards to liquidity and in regards to their income production, whatever it is I'm talking about in the class and teaching about. And so I just tell each student that's in the class, you've solved one of them, and post to the forum the solution to that. And then that's all your initial post will be. And then someone else will come behind and research this and maybe say, oh, well, this other company, this their competitor had this issue, so that's probably why they're not doing as well as the company. Some kind of analysis that makes sense and adds to the conversation. And so that sort of thing is just really amazingly great. And so then the next student comes along and they can't pick the same assignment. So all this is explained in these slides. And so that's collaborative forums as the overarching. But what I wanted to bring forth is you got to make sure that they have their unique part, but also you got to make it easier on yourself. And so you got to find a way to make the grading less painful. And this is one of the reasons I picked like a huge problem. They do each little piece instead of having them write a huge essay, because I don't have time to grade a huge essay very effectively. And so this way I can just do these really simplistic feedbacks that everyone sees, and some that they don't if they have a grade in it. I can't let everyone see, of course. But if they get their response correct to this collaborative form I just discussed with you, then I just put a smiley face on their on the heading of their post. I just go in there and overwrite or edit their post and put the smiley face saying, hey, yeah, I got my thumbs up on this. And so then on the grading, do it quickly so they know they're getting the feedback that you're there. And then the other thing is make them give responses that add value to the discussion. And then if they don't, or if their answer is incorrect, you just type just this really sweet slap around that's not very nasty and says, sorry, there's trouble here. And no, yet that just will not work. So would you retry? Or sometimes another student's already corrected them most of the time, and I'll say, okay, trouble here, corrected by Smith, whatever. So anyway, that's just the collaborative forums. Then I'm not going to have much time. I see I'm already closing in on just talking faster, trying to get it done. Sorry about that. But I'll wade through a couple of these personalized assignments. So when since I'm analytical class, it's accounting. So what I'll do is I'll take this textbook problem, and it could be intense, this problem, and I would say, okay, this is your assignment, but instead of these numbers that they use, for this particular value, you sub in the first 5 digits of your campus-wide ID. Or if they don't have it in your school, they don't have an ID number, then you could assign random numbers just with a random numbers generator, or any way that you'd choose. And so I would say use the first 5 digits of your campus-wide ID to sub in for this number that in the problem is 40,333. And then they would all have a different number now because of doing that. And sometimes I'll put like 3 or 4 different substitutions in the same problem for different factors that are in the data set. And then I just pull them from their campus-wide ID, which ours is an 8-digit number. So I'll take digits 5 through 6 for these two numbers, take the first 5 digits for this number, take the last 4 digits for this other number. So, I mean, it doesn't matter if some of the numbers overlap. It's going to mean all it's doing is giving you an algorithmic generation equivalent for the data set that they're going to use to solve this problem. So it's like it's just night and day, the amount of participation and understanding they get after they do it, when they've had to do it with their own particular number set instead of sharing the assignment with the whole class or half the class, and all of them saying, hey, oh, I think we got it right now. Let's just send this. Or even worse, the ones who say, okay, we got it right, so I'm going to change mine just a little bit so she won't know we cheated. So I'm sorry, that's that bad negative attitude. So these are really magic, and I really suggest that you do. If you can get your hands on the slides, and I'm sure you can if you want them, just email me or download them, and you'll see I've got a lot of these personalized assignments where you can sub in their ID number, or like this one where you assign the students different let me go back to choose. Assign the students, come on, the different the assignment of what all needs to be done, but they all have to pick a different number that's traded on the exchange, stock exchange. And so this really is magic as well, because they can't do the work. They can't get it from their fellow student unless they go through a lot of effort. They have to have some really good friends to get them to do their problem too. So anyway, so if once Microsoft is picked, for instance, then no one else can pick Microsoft. So next one has to go with a different company. Go General Electric, or go whatever company you like. But everyone has a different one. So again, it's just as if it were algorithmic, because the solutions aren't out there anywhere. Okay, and so then the same thing, you could do it by industry. This one is concepts in the course. Now this would work even if you're not analytical. The different concepts that are in the back of the chapter, or the glossary list. And each student has to do that and go out, find other sources to give details about how these work and how they're applied in the real world. Those would be great kind of assignments. Each, just no overlap between topics. And then the next one is end of chapter discussion questions. Could be used that same way. Those answer keys are out there, so that one's not quite as effective. The better one for me, and it's available to me, is the footnotes of my tax textbooks, income tax textbooks. They have citations to the code, and so I'll pick one of these and and I put those on the forums, and they have to go out and get more details about each of those footnotes, each one they picked, and give more detail about how it works, what kind of taxpayer it would apply to, that sort of thing. So there, yeah, I've got some more. This is a takeaway sheet that just discusses all these different options that I've just given you. This is just a sample of some of the things I've done, because I cannot stop doing these now, because I don't want them to cheat. I want them to have to work for it. So if we had more time, I would also ask you to try to think in your class what to do that would be able to do these kind of personalized assignments. And so that's where I would put that right there. I just left it in there in case we had time. It's just a little dream I had. But here's the big point. Because I know these things work, and in my opinion, there's really not a point of doing research unless it's going to improve the search circumstances. So in our case with online education, if we're doing research about online education, it seems like that it should be based on some kind of actual concern we have in the classroom, right? And so what I'm presenting to you today, this experiential kind of angle, is just, for me, it's a trigger to try to hope for, to get you guys to pick up the mantra and go ahead and do a quant study or a qualitative study. Either one or both would work perfectly, knowing that I'm convinced this is a real thing. These two are connected. Student engagement and academic integrity are totally intertwined, and there's no question in my mind. But that's just because I've been experiencing it for so long. But I can't prove that to the world unless someone goes in and does the study. So hey, please volunteer. The world wants to know this. Here's a quant study that the world really wants to know. Is cheating an integrity problem, or is it an engagement problem? This is just the epitome of the question of this course, of this little session I have, because honestly, there's a large percentage of students that cheat, even excellent students, and even very strong people, very quality people, even a lot of people that already have their degrees and they're teaching people not to cheat. There's been cheating involved at some point in their life. And so My position is it's probably not an integrity problem. It's probably an engagement problem. But I can't prove it because I haven't done that quant study. So anyway, that's where I am. And so I really am just going to leave it with that, even though I didn't get to cover everything, but that's really my main point. So I am going to turn it back over to Caroline for the question session.
Thank you, Janice. Really, really great, and lots of compliments actually for the talk. So people are very much looking forward to receiving your slides. So we'll work out a way to make sure that happens.
Okay,
got
great.
a number of questions for you. I'm going to do my best, guys. We've got 10 minutes, so let's see what we can get out of this. So Uwe has asked a couple of questions.
Okay.
Quick one. I think you posted this in the chat as opposed to the questions, Uwe. So I'm just going to ask Janice anyway, in case you were just doing it as a reciprocal question. But which students fail if they didn't contribute to the forum?
Which what? I'm sorry, missed it.
That's all right. So Uwe's asking, which students fail if they didn't contribute to the forum?
No, actually, I put small credit points on it, but it definitely has changed the letter grade many times. So I would put like I always go with 1,000 point scale because I'm lazy, and that makes it easier for me to calculate where they stand. But I would always put like somewhere around 15% on that forum participation, unless it was a big project that I was having them present. So in some classes, in my upper level classes, I have them picking a company and they are doing something intensely involved. And so because it's not really going to share anything that would help the other people, it just is interesting. I have them post it after they finish it. And so then the forum would only be worth just a few points, but the assignment underlying it still has a heavy weight in the class. So it's the forum is not where I put the most points, but it still impacts their grade drastically. Like a 15%, I mean, they're going to be in the B category, even if they made perfect on everything without those.
Thanks, Janice. And I have a question from Megan, actually. Thanks, Megan. So Megan's saying, I teach financial math in the School of Business at our college and use the personalized student ID tool. So she uses Excel to create data sets from their ID.
Yes, right. That's perfect. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
But Megan has a but. She's saying she's now finding students are just paying a third party to complete their work. Do you find this happening?
Actually, I haven't. You got more of the question? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
No, all she was
interrupt.
going to ask for was, do you find this happening at your institution as well? And if so, what advice would you give Megan and obviously the rest of us today?
Well, I mean, I think she's probably going to, if someone's going to pay an outsider, then the only way you can get past them is if you have them solve the problem under proctoring, where they can't get to the outside source. And so at least you could do a confirmation. You could do have them do their assignment, but warn them ahead of time that you're going to do a component of the online test to be them demonstrate some piece of their calculation with a new number set. And so you could do just a little mini test and let them know that there'd be a grade level reduction in their score if they were not able to do it on the exam as well.
Thanks, Janice.
Just anything. You have to think creatively,
Well, thanks very much. I hope that's helpful, Megan. And Lorraine has a question. She really likes all your different ideas. Do you use these for summative purposes? If so, do you have challenges getting the various innovative ideas through your quality and academic standard systems at your university? Great question, Lorraine.
No, that is a great question. I wish I could say I did all that, but no, actually mine has been just focused on just making my students engage. And so I haven't really had a chance to branch out and make it applicable in other areas of my school, other than other faculty members I just share the thoughts with and try to pull them along. Everyone it's just so hard because we're all so busy and people don't want to take the time to think, how could I make my class, cheat proof? How could I make my class more engaging? They're thinking, let me survive this term, so that's where we are.
Thanks, Janice. And another obviously question from Nicole. Great question. Any specific advice on combating the overuse or abuse of AI in student submissions?
Yeah, that is a problem. And again, I think that thing I said about the online test, the little just the little sample of your submission with new data really could fix that problem as well. But the AI is something that makes me very nervous because I love what this thing I've learned, but AI does stand to challenge me some in this area. And so that's why the only reason I had a solution for that first question is that I was trying to think how to get around AI. And that's kind of how got to that point, is that let's have them do it. I mean, they couldn't do their whole, if it's a big assignment, they couldn't do their whole assignment on your exam. But if they can't do some piece of it, then they shouldn't get full credit, right?
Thanks, Janice. And we have a question here from Sylvie.
Hmm.
Have you asked students to prepare a presentation, video or voice over PowerPoint that they post and others evaluate, or also self-evaluate?
No, I really don't do it that way normally because my class is being analytical. I don't really have a big presentation element. I'm not in a course that requires that for our assessment purposes. And so I have, when I do have I do have one assessment where I have to do small group discussions, but I do that as a board meeting. And so I don't really have them self. I could add that factor though to my just as a piece of their grade on my board meeting by filming it and having them, or even without the filming, the ones present could evaluate. So I'll consider that. Tell her I'll appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Janice. And just in our remaining minutes, really, you have mentioned a few times that you're looking for a partner or a research partner.
Yes.
Can you give colleagues advice that are on with us now, how they can potentially, what next steps would need to happen for them to be able to sort of engage with you and partner with you on this?
Okay, so here's my idea. If I was going to do, I mean, I have worked in qualitative and quantitative, but not in depth because I'm mostly in the classroom. I'm doing these applications, you know. But for qualitative, I could think of the possibilities of if you had a long term. I mean, if you wanted to incorporate this and try to do a study for a qual, what you would do is this is just an idea. I mean, you could do lots of things, but I would just have the idea that what you could do is you could take several different assignments during the course, multiple projects, and you could do some of them the traditional way that you always have all these years. You don't have to change anything. That's nice, right? And then you do some of them. If you had 4 projects, in other words, 2 each way. Not that course couldn't be a huge project. They wouldn't be all in the same course, but still. Okay, take half of them and make them customized. Make them just for that student. And then at the end of the course, make it a requirement that students do a survey, an interview, both, so that you'd have the information for your qualitative study. And you just take their perceptions of what difference were the types of the different. You don't have to mention that some of them were on purpose customized. Just what is their perception about these different projects, and what was what was their interest level, their enjoyment level, the concept clarity after they did them, all these things that would change if they were engaged more. And then draw the conclusions based on that about whether the customized ones were more or less effective at accomplishing these 2 goals. And then the other one, and also you have to ask a question about whether they were able to find help online or from some other source, or if they had to do it all themselves. But anyway, so that's for a qualitative. And then if you had a quant study, it would be much easier because what you'd have to have for that was you'd just have 2 courses that you're teaching side by side, the same course, but in one, you're doing what you always do. And it's just the standardized uh, same canned assignments, homogeneous answers, the whole deal. And then in the other section of the class, in other words, totally different group of students, you're doing the customized assignments. And so you're tracking, you might have to do it for more than one term, of course, because we hope cheating's not happening every time we turn around, right? And so if you did it though over like a couple of years, then maybe 4 terms or for each of them, you might see a pattern of cheating and engagement, and you might be able to track whether cheating engagement was in an inverse relationship, because that's what I think it is. That's just my initial thought of what the outcome would be. I mean, it could be wrong, of course, but I think that would happen.
Janice, we are sadly out of time now. It's been absolutely wonderful to hear you today. I don't know if you saw, but you had lots of reactions
Oh, good.
from
No, I
everybody that
couldn't
was.
see anything except my presentation, but thank
No,
you.
there were
Thank
lots,
you all for
honestly.
coming to
Can
my
you see
course
now?
too.
Hopefully you
Yes.
can see now.
Oh, they're
Thanks, guys.
sweet.
That's wonderful of you. Um,
Thank
so
you.
thank you so much. Everyone's obviously very much enjoyed your talk. Really, really
Oh, cool.
appreciate you
Good.
putting it together. And we'll
And
certainly
of
make
course,
sure that.
my email, I don't know if you had my email up there or not, but that if you would put that in the chat, weber@ulm.edu, I'd be glad to talk to people about it.
Thank
I don't
you.
have lots and lots of time, but I definitely will respond to emails when I'm in the middle of the night when I'm not working. That's the only time I have that I'm not doing something.
Look, well, I hope you can see lots of round of applause, and we're going to be
Thanks.
considerate about your sleep, but we'll definitely get in touch with you, obviously, after here, certainly. So
Anytime.
thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Really appreciate it. And
Thanks.
so everybody, up next, we'll hear from Louisiana State University on artificial intelligence integration in online higher education, or head over to track 2 with University of Central Florida. See you soon.